Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your girl, Shea, and sitting next to me is
Corey.
AKA the Thinker.
Yeah.
Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to tonight's episode. We're going to be talking to licensed therapist Lisa Savage. Black women reclaiming their community. Tune in tonight.
Out of the ashes we will soar to a destiny we can't ignore. Heartbeats echo through the night with every dream and endless flight. Together strong, let's break the mold. Our rebirth and stories told. It's time to renew, rebuild, restore. Unlock the dreams we've been waiting for. Rise up higher, more and more. With every breath, a new dawn's roar.
Good evening. Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to Rebirth Podcast. I'm your host, Shay.
I'm Corey Wilkerson, aka the Thinker. What a Monday!
What a Monday.
Should start doing like behind the scenes.
I know we have
things
so
that
many.
happen.
Exactly. Thank you guys for being patient. We just ran into some technical difficulties. You know, it happens, but we appreciate you being patient. And I promise you, you are going to enjoy tonight's show. So stay tuned. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to tonight's podcast. And also share this with someone that can benefit from the empowerment of the Black woman. Because, honey, we ready to bring it tonight.
Buckling up again.
Buckle up. What's up, Corey Wilkerson? How you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah?
I'm good. Enjoying the weather.
Yes.
Enjoying the weather.
Yes.
Headed into Father's Day. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm cool.
We're going to get some 90-degree weather this week, so I'm excited about that.
Are you?
I am.
You like the 90 degrees, do you?
I do. I 90 degrees without the humidity part,
Okay. Yeah, I can deal with
so
that.
if the humidity is not there, I'm good.
Yeah, I
but
can deal with that.
what I was breathing in Costa Rica, I almost passed out. Although it was a lovely and beautiful place.
You didn't get the monkeys?
No, man, I did not.
You didn't see the monkeys?
Mm-mm.
Dang.
Mm-mm. And you know I love the beach, but I purposely will not go down on the beach because of that.
Because of the monkeys, really?
Because of the monkeys.
Oh,
yes. I was
man.
very, very scared about that.
Honestly, I'll take one home.
Absolutely. So before we get to our guests tonight, we have a couple things that is happening in our community. I want to shed some light. And we also have a young man that is going to jump on really quick and talk about all the wonderful things that he has going on. So before we get to him, Amani Healing and Therapy Center is offering a maternal virtual burnout group. Okay. So I'm talking to all my moms here. You do not need to feel a certain type of way or feel like you can't get the help that you need. We all go through things, whether you have a newborn or you have a teenager. We all have those experiences of burnout, right? I'm sure as dads probably do too, right? Oh, you know what?
No, we good. You know, we had no burnout.
Listen, the Mommy Burnout Group is going to be starting June. We have 4 sessions: June 21st, June 28th, July 12th, and July 19th. You can sign up at ccddelaware.com, and that's Amani Healing Maternal Virtual Burnout Group. I can talk.
As a mom that's burnt out.
As a mom that's burnt
in
out.
real time.
Let's go to the next one. If you're looking for something to get your children involved in, the Center for Child Development is offering an anxiety group for ages 13 to 17. This is going to be an in-person group, okay? And this is a 6-week session from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Again, you can register at ccddelaware.com. And also, for the younger kids, we have Camp Calm, which is starting June 11th for ages 8 to 12. See, we got y'all covered. We have y'all covered. Ages 8 to 12. At the same time, like the other ones, you can register at ccddelaware.com. And these are this going to be happening throughout the summer.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So get your kids involved. I think we're going to be starting a parenting group as well. For parents that have kids that have anxiety, because some of our kids have anxiety because of our parents.
Yes.
So stay tuned for that. Yes. So before we speak to Miss Savage tonight, who is going to bring us an amazing topic about Black women reclaiming their communities, Corey, you want to introduce this gentleman?
Yeah, so we have Mr. Donald J. Thompson III, who is a CEO of the real estate developer, is coming in to speak to us and talk to us about his story and what he has going on in the community.
Yes, welcome, Donald. Welcome to the Rebirth. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Thank you guys for having me.
Yes, absolutely. So I want to, talk about a little bit about you and what you have coming up. We want to share this with our audience and see how we can support.
Okay, thank you. So we have recently coming up. I'm not sure exactly where you guys are from.
We're in Delaware,
My
Newark, Delaware.
gotcha. So our current project coming up is based in the city of Wilmington, on the north side, between 29th and 28th and 29th Street,
Hmm.
14 unit townhome community. Uh,
Wow.
and right, in the neighborhoods, like I was born in Wilmington, grew up in Wilmington, so it
Okay.
feels good to give back to that. The project called Raw Story Drive, like I said, 14 units. In addition
Hmm.
of what is a city street, it's named after my nephew. His name is Rick Anthony Williams. He died
Mm.
in a motorcycle accident due to drunk driving. It's
Oh,
negligence.
wow.
And so I'm looking to make that, a tribute and to provide much needed housing in the city of Wilmington.
That's
That's awesome. That's
awesome.
awesome.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm so sorry for the tragic and what's, causing this to happen, but you're taking something that was painful and you're turning it into a purpose, right? Which is important.
Can you talk?
Yes,
Uh, I know
go
you
ahead.
said you're from the city of Wilmington. How long have you been giving back to the city? And you tell us a little bit about your background a little bit.
So my company technically started in 2020, right at the beginning of the pandemic. I mean, that's officially paperwork filed. I've been doing, construction and things like that my whole life. When I was younger, I went to school for electric. Kind of
Mm.
picked up the other trades as I went along, um, and started out, small, rehabbing things like that, and eventually started my company. Like I said, in 2020, we did our first project. I believe that was like large scale project, like ground up construction, and that started in beginning of 2023, groundbreaking,
Okay.
and we're kind of just growing from there. So
That's awesome. That's
That is
awesome.
awesome. So for people that's listening and, obviously, your this movement that you have, what would you say to someone that may have experienced something similar, right? And they need something to try to just turn their pain into purpose, but maybe it's hard for them to get out of that because we all know grief could last for years to come. You never really truly get over a loss. You just learn how to live alongside of it. But what would you offer as advice to someone that is looking to maybe take their pain and turn it into something that's purposeful?
I would tell people don't quit. I mean, to be honest with you,
Mhm.
something super similar happened to me myself. Um,
Mhm.
and uh, and I was laying in the hospital, and he was there at 1 a.m. in the morning.
Wow.
Um, if you're here, it's for a reason. So,
Mhm.
Mhm.
because when it happened to him, he wasn't here no more.
Yeah.
So, yeah, yeah, the exact same thing. A negligent drunk driver removed me from my motorcycle forcefully.
Wow.
Mm.
One of us is here, and one of us ain't. Um, so I would just say, don't quit. Like if you're here, it's for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah. Donna, you have a comment. Fed Up Sister said, "Thank you so very much for all that you do with Head Start and Job Courts gone. Your work is needed now more than ever."
Oh wow, thank you. I appreciate that. I did just read about that they shut
Yeah.
down audit job force nationally.
Oh,
So
wow.
Yeah, I read that last week.
Oh,
yeah,
wow. Okay.
everywhere. It wasn't just in a certain place or
Yeah.
everywhere.
Okay. Thank you, Fed Up Sister, for chiming in. How can the community get behind you? How can people be a part of what you have going on with this and also moving forward?
So we have a groundbreaking. It's scheduled at 12 p.m. on June 11th.
Mm-hmm.
That is in the 400 block of West 29th Street.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as always, I do things for the people, not those people.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely wide open to the community. Come out and support. Support uh, low income, medium income housing, more development.
Mm-hmm.
Support the memory of a kid who lost his life too soon.
Yeah.
Definitely support more responsible decision makings. So we'll be out there, like I said, June 11th at 12 p.m.
June
And I
11th.
mean, in general, just support the idea of, it's from where I'm from, Wilmington.
Yeah.
It seems, pretty, I would say, insular, almost like
Mm-hmm.
if you're not in, you're not getting in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of barriers that smaller developers and smaller businesses face. The ideal to just whoever your representative is, whoever your council person is,
Mm-hmm.
let them know to continue to be advocates for us. To because it's hard to be able to, especially like as I sit here, like I haven't gotten any help. I've never gotten any help from um,
Mm.
those type of grants or funding or whatnot. So
Wow.
right, as opposed to other bigger companies that may have got those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you deal with that as well as other specific barriers in government that tends to run your costs up, it's real hard to provide
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
any type of housing that would be considered affordable in the city. So a continued advocacy to council persons and mayors and things like that is much appreciated, to let them know that when they keep our costs down, we keep the costs down. Like
Yes,
Yeah,
that.
for sure.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's important. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, definitely thank you for all the work that you're doing. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's inspiring to see someone that looks like us in our
Absolutely.
communities, right? I think sometimes we take a lot of those things for granted today. And while everybody else is I don't want to say turning up and being distracted, I think that there's positive role models in the community
Mm-hmm.
that are doing things like what you do, and people can relate to that, and young black men can relate to that as well, especially coming from trade schools and things like that. So
Yes.
continue to do what you're doing, and we thank you for all the work that you're doing.
I appreciate that, and that's definitely a thing that you said that I've noticed, to turn up. And sometimes people look at a situation and think it's turned up without understanding the bare bones of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Saying that you, as a person, um, just as a general income, might earn $6,000 or $7,000 from your job doesn't account for the fact that 5,800 of that is bills. Sometimes
Right.
a better understanding of the process of how these things work, gives people a more realistic understanding of how to achieve goals, accomplish things, and a way to manage their resources better.
Absolutely.
So I'm asking everybody to get behind this young man, get behind this brother and support. Reach out to your local politicians. That's where the change starts, right? We often kind of always, when there's presidential stuff going on, we focus on that, but the
Absolutely.
change has to start within our own communities. Is there any type of social media handle or anything like that you want to share for people to follow or?
Oh, yes. So you can definitely you can definitely go to the website to learn more about past projects, the current Rural Story projects, anything that's coming down the pipeline. That's
Mhm.
truthandactionsinc.com. You can definitely check out Instagram. It's also Truth and
Mhm.
Actions Inc. Um, and same thing with Facebook.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
And we're gonna have we have all your information, so I'll make sure that's posted on all of our social media platforms as well, so we're able to support in that way. And please reach back out. And if you have anything else going on, you are more than welcome to come back and spread the news. But thank you for taking time to speak to us tonight, and I wish you the best, Donald.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're
sure.
very
Thank you.
welcome. Have a great night.
Yep, you too.
Thank you. That's awesome.
It is.
A great project that is happening. So
Locally
let's
too, yeah.
locally, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get behind it. Let's support. So without further ado, shout out to you, Portia. You are very welcome. Without further ado, we're not going to keep this young lady waiting. We're going to be talking about Black women reclaiming their communities. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
What y'all about to do?
What you got a lot to say now?
I ain't got nothing to say.
Okay, we'll
I
see.
got nothing
We'll
to say.
see.
I'm just here to support.
She was on the show. She has been a friend of the show. The last time she was on, we were talking about the interracism.
Yes.
And that was a great conversation. We
was.
got to do a part 2 to that
We
as
do,
well.
we do.
But tonight we are going to be talking about Black women reclaiming their communities. Please welcome the owner of the Center for Child Development, owner and founder, as well as licensed clinical social worker, as well as the co-founder of Clinicians of Color. There's so many hats, so many things I can keep saying, but she's also one of my besties, one of my sisters, the lovely Lisa Savage. Welcome to the Rebirth.
Welcome.
Thank you guys. It is a pleasure to be back again.
Hey girl,
Absolutely.
hey.
Hey.
It's good to see you. Thank you so much for taking
You
time
too.
out.
Yeah.
Very excited to talk to you. I'm glad we got things up and running and people were patient and they're waiting. Yes, absolutely. So this is a topic that I'm excited about.
I can tell.
Yeah, you see me moving, I'm all
Yeah.
fidgety.
Yeah.
But we're talking about Black women reclaiming their communities. Why? Why
Yeah.
was this important to talk about tonight?
You know what? I listened to the brother before me talk about literally building a community in Wilmington. And so I think these topics kind of go hand in hand. I'm
Yeah.
talking about building a community of support. So he's literally talking about building a physical community, which is important. But my topic really is more on building a community of support. And what I mean by that is it's a group of people who have shared values, experiences, goals, and identity where we come together and create a sense of belonging and a sense of support. I have community, I've had community.
Yeah.
But I think tonight we're going to talk a little bit about why Black women in particular have lost their community.
Mm. So, my first question to you is, and this is not my thoughts, but this is something that I am going to put out there because you hear so much about, we know in our circle that's not the case, right? But you hear so much about how we as Black women, we don't support other Black women like we should, right? So are we even in a space of healing where we can do the things that you're speaking of, where we're not feeling like we're in competition, right? Because not only do we have our own little competition within our community, but social media puts us against each other, society puts us against each other, all different things. So are we in a space where we can even come together to do these things that we're about to talk about tonight?
I think, Shay, that's a really good question, an important question, because um, as I speak with women, particularly Black women, one narrative that I hear a lot is, I don't really trust other Black women. I don't really trust women. I'm
Exactly.
better friends
Right.
with men. I think that we have to be in a space where we can not call people out, but call people in and invite people in. I think the reason why a lot of women and Black women in particular feel that way is because we have navigated so many different spaces and maybe have not had positive experiences, and it becomes easy to generalize that to every Black woman, to every organization. I think we have to get used to and comfortable with calling people in and inviting people in and showing people a difference, helping people to have healing
Yeah.
and corrective experiences. My own
Mhm.
niece said to me, she said, Aunt Lisa, when I was growing up, I saw Black women just bully each other. So I was always
Mhm.
afraid of other Black women. So she was talking about how she gravitated toward white women because she had a different experience. And so I had to have a conversation with her about not every Black woman, not every experience that you're going to have with Black women is
Mhm.
going to be like that. But I also think that there are a lot of historical things that have happened to Black women that have caused us to be easily irritated, easily on maybe distrustful of each other. And I think
Right.
that's attributed to the systems that we encounter, racism, sexism,
Mhm.
and all the other isms that put us on edge, that keep our nervous system in a state where we're constantly in the fight
Yeah.
mode. So I think the more we can call people in and help people to find um, find acceptance, find trust, find compassion, empathy, and be
Mhm.
intentional about seeking people out who maybe don't look like us, who don't have the same income, maybe different age groups. I think that's where the healing starts. And I think it's incumbent upon Black women like me and you, Shay, and some of the other Black
Yeah.
women in our circle to do that. At CCD where we work, we have a wide variety of women, right? We have a wide variety
Yeah.
of Black women, brown women, white women. And we may not have um, a lot in common with people, but I think you can remember the last time that we all gathered
Mhm.
as an organization, the bonding, the connecting that we did with people who maybe, and I'm talking about Black women in this instance, who
Right.
maybe were different age groups, different
Mhm.
socioeconomic backgrounds than um, others, and we helped them to feel comfortable, helped them to feel welcome, um, gave them hugs, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where I think the healing starts, and I think if it can happen in one circle, in one community, it can happen more broadly.
Absolutely. I totally
Yeah,
agree. I think part of that too is like you said, being able to validate each other's
that's the word.
experiences. Your
That's the
experience
word.
your experience is not may
Hmm.
not look like mine, but it doesn't mean that it wasn't painful, or if it
Mhm.
wasn't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mhm.
Hmm.
Not being so
Hmm.
judgmental, right? Not being so much
Mm,
so
mm.
judgmental, and also having space of understanding that I can learn from you at 20, 25 years old, and I can learn from you at 70, 80 years old. You know what I'm saying?
Yep,
So there's
yep,
always value
yep,
in people.
Yeah, I
yep.
questioned. Sorry.
What's your questions? Go ahead. Go ahead.
So, like, one of the questions, I just hearing you two speak, right? Some of the questions that came up to me is, what do you feel like is the breakdown between the well, not two, the generations of Black women, right? Um, just my observation, just growing up, it feels like there seems to be a loss of respect, and there seems to be a loss of um identification, right? Because I feel like
Hmm.
our generation, well, the younger generation doesn't identify with the older folks anymore. They either look at us as we are very different, and you don't understand what we go through as kids, or you don't
Mhm.
understand what we go through in this generation.
Hmm.
Mhm.
It's very different. And it used to be, before, at least I
Hmm.
remember, that when an elder spoke to you, you shut up and you listened,
Mhm.
right? Or you took heed to what they were saying. Even if you didn't agree, you took in what they were saying. And I don't know if I see that as much. And again, that could be social media generated or whatever, but you definitely see,
Hmm.
when you walk in just into a Wawa, you definitely see the
Mhm.
difference between the generation, and it's huge to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Corey, I think that is a really good question. And I think there are layers to this. I was, as you were talking, thinking about when I was a young girl growing up in West Philadelphia. And what I remember the most about that experience was sitting on the porch stoop, watching my mom talk to the neighbors, neighbors looking out for one another, being able to just run down the street, knock on somebody's door, and be welcomed in. I feel like those things have changed a lot. I think that technology has played a big part in that. Um,
Mhm.
I was thinking the other night, I was sitting on my computer and I was like, you know what? I've been sitting in front of a computer for about 30 years now. Like, and what am I missing out on by sitting in front of a computer all day, every single day? Well, I'm missing out on
Mhm.
the opportunity to interact with human beings, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Um,
yeah.
I live in a very community oriented neighborhood. I love my neighborhood for that reason. And so what I've done is I started getting involved in things. And I met this elderly Black woman who lives a few blocks over. Um, it's just the most charming, wonderful person you could ever imagine. Then I met an elderly white woman who lives one block over. Very fascinating woman who is like 89 years old and does yoga every single day, like
Oh,
yoga all the
wow.
time. Yeah, 89 years old, still doing yoga. And one day I went over and sat with her in her apartment and we just talked and shared. And I realized that technology has separated us. But the other thing
Mhm.
that has separated us too is capitalism, right? We're all
Mm.
chasing the almighty dollar, right?
Yeah.
Because we want to live in the big house, we want to have a fancy car, we want to take the fancy trips. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. But I think that because we're so driven by the almighty dollar, that it's usurped a lot of our time to connect
Mhm.
with other people. So I'm being more intentional about trying to make connections, but I'm not gonna lie, it's hard. It's very
Yeah.
hard. Because I feel like time sometimes is elusive to me. And Shay understands this. You know, I live in Baltimore now. That my community is in Delaware. Every
Mhm.
time something goes on, I say to Shay, "This is another reason why I need to be living back in Delaware, because that's where my community is." But I got to
Right.
make
Yeah.
community where I'm at, where I'm located. And you can have multiple communities, right? I can still have my
Mhm.
community in Delaware, and I can still have a community here in Baltimore, which I am beginning to develop. But it's technology. It is the complications of life.
Mm.
That have gotten in the way. Life isn't as simple as it was when I was, you
Right.
know, 10 years old living in West Philadelphia. Life has
Yeah.
gotten somewhere much more complicated. Our kids have, I mean, in some certain circumstances, are having to go out and work early, and I mean having to go out and work at an earlier age because they're helping to take care of their families. So it's complicated.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
for
Mm,
sure.
mm.
One of
Hmm.
the things that I know you're really good at is you brought up social media, and that's using social media to give Black
Yeah,
women, voices. So,
yeah.
you can talk a little bit about that?
Yes, because I think that is a purpose. There is a purpose for social
Mhm.
media. And
Mhm.
so I have built communities on various platforms on social media where I've connected with amazing women, amazing women.
Mhm.
And I feel like if I didn't have these online communities, I would have never met these people. So there's definitely a space for that. Um, I would like to see us, and I'm talking about in my communities that I've created, be more intentional about getting together on social media, but also
Mhm.
outside of social media.
Yeah.
Um, but I feel like the connections that I made are real. I have friends like my friend Kim, who is my business partner for Clinicians of Color,
Mhm.
is a dear friend of mine. Shay has had the pleasure of meeting her. Kim and
Mhm.
I have met in person maybe 4 or 5 times, but we've been in business together. And I feel like we're role models for how Black women can trust each other,
Right,
and
right.
not live in the same state. We have a shared
Yeah.
bank account. There's no worry about, oh, she's going to take this or she's going to be deceptive about that. We
Mhm.
don't have that. Um, and so, in some ways, we're a model for that. Shay and I and other folks in our circle have been able to maintain our
Mhm.
connection, even living in different states. We're intentional
Yeah.
about it. If I text Shay and I don't hear back from her within an hour, I'm like, wait, what's up? Because that's not how we roll, right? We usually get right
Right.
back to each other. And if we
Uh-huh.
don't, then there's something's going on. And it just could be that
Right.
Shay's out having a good time. But she knows I'm going to check on her.
Right.
And I know she's going to do the same
Yes.
with me. No matter where
Yes.
I'm at in the world, Shay knows she can text
Mhm.
me and I better get back to her.
Mhm. And trust me, she be everywhere in the world. Okay? Everywhere. So it
But
might
my
be five
friends
o'clock
know.
here.
That's right. My friends know. Set a clock. I'm gonna be in Europe. Set a clock.
Yep. Yep. And
And
I
be in
do.
touch
I
with
have
me.
all different clocks all of my phone.
That's funny.
That's that
Yeah.
community piece. I'm in
Yeah.
community with Shay. I'm in community with Jasmine, with
Mm-hmm.
Annette. These are the people that Shay and I have mutual connection with. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and we count on each other for different things. Shay and
Mm-hmm.
I, no, Annette and I are the older ones. Shay's younger than me and Annette, but Jasmine is really young. And Jasmine's in
She's
her
the baby of the
early,
group. Yeah.
yeah, she's the baby of the group.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but we found some mutuality, some
Mm-hmm.
common things, some different strengths. Shay keeps me in stitches. Shay makes me laugh like nobody else. Um, Jasmine is more the thinker of the group, and that's the one
Uh-huh.
that'll tell you off in a heartbeat,
Right.
right?
I kind of share that hat a little bit too.
You do. You do. But I love that about you. I love that about her. And
Yeah.
so um
Yeah.
again, I think the word is intentional and being intentional about your connections with people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think too, it's important to like how she just broke that down, identifying everybody's strength.
Yeah.
Now she did that in a fun way, but when you think about the group that she's referring to, we all have our strengths about what makes this work. And then with Lisa is a person that always will always create opportunity for her people. She
Mm.
will. She not just
Hmm.
her people, everybody, but she's going to
Hmm.
make sure that you're good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Hmm.
if it's something you don't feel that you have the skill for, she's going to make sure you get the training for it,
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
you know?
It's awesome.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's cultivating. That's cultivating people. That's
mhm,
cultivating community. I like to feel um, like I have some purpose in somebody's life. I like to feel like I have, some investment in the people that I bring into my life. I
mhm,
get very sad when I feel like, you know, there's disloyalty. Shay will tell you, I get very sad about that.
absolutely.
Um,
Yeah. She gets
'Cause
sad, I get mad.
Mhm.
That's true.
I'm there too.
It's when the earrings start we're
Exactly.
like, where we need to go.
And that's one thing about her. She got my
Yeah.
back. She gonna always
Mhm.
have my back, right? And she knows I'm gonna always have her back too, no matter what
Yeah.
it is. I'm gonna always have her back. That's what community is. And I feel very
Mhm.
strongly that as Black women in particular, we got to get back to that. Corey, I feel strongly that Black men need to do it as well. Um,
Mhm.
and obviously, I'm not a Black male. I can't speak to the Black male experience, but I feel like Black men hold so much pain and so much fear of being vulnerable, whereas women can do the
Mhm.
vulnerability a little bit easier. But
Mhm.
men hold that pain. They don't allow themselves to find spaces where other people can hold their emotions. And so Black men are walking around, talk about in fight, flight, or freeze mode,
Mhm.
constantly in that mode, constantly. And maybe even somewhat afraid of letting people know, even their partners know. Again, I live here in Baltimore. Some of these streets in Baltimore are really tough. Um, but I am very intentional. I think I've said this before in the show about connecting with Black boys who are on the street corner, either
Mm.
washing the
Right.
windows or, selling
Mhm.
something. I'm very intentional about it because I feel like they need to know they're human too.
Yes.
And I like to tap into a little bit of vulnerability with them so they can just feel that sense of safety and
Yeah.
let them know that
Absolutely.
somebody can care about you. They don't know me, but I feel like if I can just be warm and tender to them, they have it gives them that impression that they are worthy enough to be cared
Mhm.
about. And it goes a
Absolutely.
long
Yeah.
way, even those little brief 15-second interactions.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that I've always said this and it's gotten like controversial comments, right? But I think that women, especially Black women, are the backbone of change. And I
Mm,
think
Mhm.
that when you all talk about coming to reclaim your community, that resonates with me because you're coming to reclaim us as men as well.
Hey,
Right.
hey,
So when we
yeah.
see you all form, we follow. If you think about what
Mm-hmm.
happened with just the presidential race and how many people
Mm-hmm.
got behind Kamala Harris, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you see things happen in your family, and whether it's Big Mama or Auntie or whoever calls for everybody to come to the house, we follow.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think that when you talk about reclaiming your community, I think us as Black men, and I'll just speak for myself as well, we need that in today's world, right?
Yep.
Because without you all, we are lost, right?
Mm.
Because we come
Mm-hmm.
from you all, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think
Mm-hmm.
that when
Better speak.
when we don't have a sense of community, we lost that because all we see is what we potentially see on social media,
Mm-hmm.
right?
You got
And
it.
we get
You
very much
got it.
lost in trying to follow the norm of we got to go and support, and everything that we are is about what we provide. And that
Mm-hmm.
wasn't what we were taught, at least in
Mm-hmm.
my when I grew up,
Yeah.
right? We had a sense of community. We can go sit next and talk to your mom. You can go
Mm-hmm.
sit next and talk to grandma and all of these
Mm-hmm.
things. And and respectfully, grandmas are getting younger and younger,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we
Mm-hmm.
we grew up together essentially, right? And that was a little different when we grew up. So I think that for us as Black men, um we need this to happen
Mm-hmm.
so we can see ourselves in some of you all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm.
there's a lost
Mm.
generation. If you think about, not to back up a little bit, we're talking about how you have to be intentional about connecting and things like that. I was listening to this other podcast, and she talked about when we lost a whole generation to social media because when we used
Mm-hmm.
to leave the house, we didn't come back for hours.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like you would come
Right.
back, your shirt's broke, ripped up, you got a cut on you because you just knew if
Dirty.
you had to go home, you had to stay in the house. But we
Right.
would just be outside, just connecting and doing all these type of things, right? But I think again, for us, we sometimes get connected to what social media is projecting, and that's not necessarily reality,
Mm-hmm.
Reality.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we need people to talk around us so we can kind of form around you all as well. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, sometimes it's said that Black men need to protect Black women, which I 100% agree with. I think
Mm-hmm.
sometimes though we are also waiting for that community to form so we can find our connection, and I think
Mm.
we're lost inside of when we don't see you all. We're just out trying to find. We're left to nothing but our own bravado
Mm.
or ego
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
um
Mm-hmm.
our own whatever that is, right? So I think that those are important. So I say that to you all as you all have this chant. I think it's important that you do this because it's you're coming to claim us as well, if that makes sense.
Mm. I hope some of the other brothers listening are taking heed. I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good, Corey.
Yeah.
We got
Yeah.
some comments. Sherry Mona. Hi, Sherry. Sherry says, love this being more intentional.
Yeah.
And she also said, that's good, Corey.
Mm.
Yeah. Didn't call you the thinker for no reason.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly. Exactly. Came through. Yes.
Yeah. So I think about that formation song came to mind.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Let's get
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right,
information,
right.
right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
the what I said earlier about, how do we, are we healed enough to be able to do some of the things that you're speaking of? I feel that we are, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I was
Mm-hmm.
throwing that out there because I know that that is a thing. I know that there
Mm-hmm.
is a thing when women say, I don't trust another woman, or I just only
Yep.
have male friends. I know that is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I know you work hard. I
Mm-hmm.
work hard. Another person comes to mind, Michelle Washington. We work hard in the communities of women to show
Mm-hmm.
that that is not what it should be, and that's not how it should look,
Right.
right?
Right.
Um,
Right. Right.
just
Right.
being able to pay another woman, another Black woman, a compliment,
Amen.
and not hate on her,
Right.
sharing. This was a big one for me. Um, not being in a place initially where the women around me at that time was sharing their own experience of what they went through. So like when I went through
Mm,
my divorce, I felt very alone in that
mhm,
process because
mhm.
it was something that it was like, okay, you know, I'm embarrassed. I'm even going through something like this. I don't want to tell people. It took me months before I told people that
Remember?
I was going through. I
Mhm,
suffered in silence, right?
mhm.
So
Yeah,
I like to touch on that a little bit, how we don't have to suffer in silence. If somebody was
right.
like now, I'm going through menopause. I'm
Yeah,
going through
yeah.
menopause, everybody, right? But there's more women that's talking about it, and it's
Yes,
helping me
thankfully.
understand the different changes that I go through. Menopause is not just
Yeah,
mood swings and hot flashes. It's
yeah,
so much
yeah.
more. It's body pain. It's insomnia. It's so
Right,
much more. But I
right.
only notice because people are now starting to share their experiences.
Yeah, 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 exactly, Shay. Exactly. I mean, I think part of community, being part of a community is being vulnerable and being able to share
Mhm.
exactly what you just said. Um, when we feel safe, that's when we allow ourselves to be
Yeah.
vulnerable. And so you got to be you got to feel like you're in a safe space with safe people in order to feel that you can be vulnerable. I think part of what has been a huge issue for us and Black women in particular, and we kind of talked about this the last time I was on the show, but the inherent racism that happens, the
Mhm.
pitting Black women against one another, the determination of what beauty looks like,
Mhm.
and that comes from media, that comes from social media, and then us internalizing all of that and hating those
Yeah.
parts of ourselves that society doesn't determine to be beautiful. And so when you mix that with other women who you think might have those traits,
Yeah.
you're not going to feel really good. Or you might even project your anger and
Right.
jealousy and dissatisfaction onto that other woman who is innocent because she can't help the way that she looks. Um,
Right.
and so being able to be vulnerable and have these conversations and say, this is how I feel internally. This is what's going on for me. But we can't
Mhm.
have those conversations and that share that level of vulnerability until we're feeling safe. And safety comes through experiences and time. Um,
Mhm.
it's not safe to just give people blanket trust. It is safer to ease in and see kind of what the waters are like. Um, and so that's really how it starts, and calling people in and having people come in and giving them some space to
Mhm.
be able to express the fullness of who they are, and their vulnerability is really incumbent upon those of us who have positions like you and myself, Shay, where
Mhm.
we have an audience, so to speak, where we can speak to the audience um, and influence some people
Yeah.
and get people to think and get people to maybe act a little bit differently in their own circles. So, I remember a couple of months ago, my husband and I did this candle making class, and next to us was this really young Black couple, I think maybe in their early 30s. And we
Mhm.
started talking, and they were real cool. And so the woman asked me if I wanted to, exchange numbers. So we did. Her name is Patrice. She just had a baby. And she lives here in Baltimore. Real cool person, real cool person. And
Mhm.
we exchanged numbers. We went out. She started sharing with me, like, some of her past history of being abused. Um,
Mm.
and it was such a rich experience because we're a good 30, I'm a good 30 years older than she is. And but I think being open to
Mhm.
allowing someone to sit with you to feel that you're a safe person is really what helped that connection. And she had written a book.
Right.
I found her book and I was like, I gotta text Patrice because I haven't seen her in a while. um, but giving people the opportunity to call them in and to allow them to feel the safety, so that they can feel vulnerable, because in community is really where healing happens. Healing doesn't
Absolutely.
happen in isolation. Healing
Mhm.
happens in community. And as therapists, we know that one-to-one therapy is really great, but also group therapy is
Right.
amazing because
Right. Right.
you can have shared experiences with people. So healing really
Yes.
does happen in community. Feeling isolated and alienated and alone really
Mhm.
only exacerbates anxiety and depression and a sense of
Mhm.
isolation.
Lisa, I had the opportunity and the honor to speak at the retreat that I do every year with
Mm-hmm.
Sherry Simone, and this particular one was in Costa Rica back in May. And there was a question, beautiful women in front of me. It was a question, one question that I asked, and that was, "Who are you?"
Mm,
And when I tell you the silence and then the
mm,
tears,
mm,
it was so it choked me up. It choked everybody got choked up because
mm,
you realize that you've walked through life for a period of time not knowing who you are. You identify with who the world tells you you should be,
mm-hmm,
what
mm-hmm.
religion tells you you should be, what your
Yep,
parents, their values, what
yep.
is what they tell you you should be, and you really don't realize until later in life, right? Because
Mm-hmm,
I went through the same thing. It wasn't until 40
mm,
that I found who I was,
mm-hmm.
right? And what my purpose was, and you know, became unapologetically after that, and really just walked
Yeah,
in the fullness of me. And that was
yeah.
so freeing. That was so
Mm,
freeing. So when you have women, they want to get there, and I know they can get there, and we're saying to them, hey, you need community, we need to connect, we need to come into these groups so we can heal and we could do these things. So what about the woman that has no identity,
mm,
and
mm,
how does she even connect with someone
mm-hmm,
like you, like me?
mm-hmm,
Like, how does she even merge into these type of communities if she
mm-hmm,
may not feel worthy enough or doesn't
mm-hmm,
know what she
mm-hmm,
can offer, right? I
mm-hmm.
want to speak to that woman because I know that woman is probably watching.
Mhm. Mhm. No doubt about that, Shay. She is
Mhm.
definitely watching. Because I think what you described is probably a little bit more common than what people are really willing to admit, that that's
Mhm.
common. Even
Mhm.
women in their 40s and 50s wake up and go, yeah, who the heck am I? Because we have
Mhm.
sometimes become a version of ourselves that we don't even recognize, based on what society tells us, our family tells us, or even what we tell ourselves. I mean,
Right.
I think it starts um, with with taking a risk, joining an organization, finding that one person who sees you, finding
Mhm.
that one person who allows you to be who you are, who can maybe provide you with some wisdom, some guidance, with some truth. We need people who can speak
Mhm.
truth to us as well.
Yes.
We can't be in a community with people who are just going to coddle us. We have to be open
Right.
to people
Mhm.
being true, but finding that one
Mhm.
person who um, allow you, will hold you, maybe not physically, but maybe physically, um,
Mhm.
as you begin to discover the truths about who you are, the depths of your soul, so so that person can define who she wants to be. But I
Absolutely.
think it also takes believing that you're worthy, right, of
Mhm.
having that kind of
Mhm.
space, because a lot of us walk around with a sense of I'm not worthy, and that just gets played out in so many different ways. I think it can alienate. I think it does give people a sense of alienation, because if you're not feeling like you're worthy, you're not going to connect with somebody
Right.
who can emotionally and psychologically hold you. I
Mhm.
think therapy is also a good place to start, because your
Mhm.
therapist, if they're a good therapist, isn't going to judge you, isn't going to tell you how to feel. They're going to
Mhm.
accept and help you to discover parts of yourself, because we all have different parts. It's just sometimes a matter of understanding what those parts are and allowing all those parts to come forward. The parts of ourselves developed when we were, kids, right? And so those parts
Yeah.
develop, they don't ever go away. Either sometimes we push them away, we ignore them. Um, but finding a therapist can help you to identify your parts and be accepting of all your parts and help you
Yeah.
to tap into those parts of yourself. So maybe that's the best way, is for people really to start therapy, which
Therapy.
we believe in
Mhm.
because we're therapists, is what
Mhm.
we do, and we know that tremendous healing can come out of therapy. I also think group therapy
Mhm.
can be very powerful too for women in positions like that, because you're in a group with other people
Right.
who maybe have some shared experiences and some shared internal struggles. But
Mhm.
therapy probably is a good place to start. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I
Mhm.
agree.
Yeah. I got a two-part question. So I think one, how do we teach that to our younger generation? And I say that as a father of a daughter, right? So my daughter will be 23 in August, right? So
Wow.
how do
Okay.
we teach that as a black father to a black daughter, right? Um,
Yeah.
how do we teach so it helps your journey that much easier, right? Because it
Hmm.
does start in the home, right? And
It
sometimes while
does.
you may identify that, or young women may identify that with their mother, they also identify that with us, right? As their
Yeah.
fathers. So
Absolutely, they do.
how can we help that in that space?
Yeah.
And well,
Such a
I
good
think I asked
question.
you. Yeah.
Okay. So I think, Corey, where that starts, even if your child is technically an adult and they're older than 21 years old, kids get their sense of self-worth from their parents. That's where it starts.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
starts with their parents. It starts with how their parents see them, meaning the kid, but also how the parent sees him or herself. So kids
Mhm.
will pick up on how that parent feels about him or herself.
For
And
sure.
until they become older to develop their own sense of identity, their sense of self is connected to the parent's sense of self, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
as a child gets older, either they're still carrying their parent's sense of self, or they've been able to have some corrective experiences where they have developed a more authentic sense of self. But even as adults, you can still model to yourself what self-worth is. And it's more
Mhm.
than just telling your child you're worthy. That goes a long way, but it's also demonstrating it within yourself, how you live, the choices that you make, the words that you speak, the friendships that you carry. So, for mothers and fathers too, if we're in unhealthy friendships or unhealthy relationships, even having adult children witness that, is going to have a negative impact on them. Having healthier
Absolutely.
relationships with our partners, with our friends, with our community is the best teacher that you can
Yeah.
have for your child. The best teacher.
Mhm. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for that, Lisa.
Yeah, yeah.
As we're wrapping up, is there anything else that comes to mind that you feel would be helpful, for those that are watching and they're like,
Mhm.
yeah, it's time to get information. It's
Mhm.
time to reclaim our communities, right?
Yeah, yeah,
What would
yeah. So start small. Be
Mhm.
intentional. Get
Mhm.
outside. Make your house a welcoming place where people want to come and gather. Um,
Mhm.
your community doesn't have to be large. It doesn't have to be a whole bunch of people. It can be a small group of people.
Absolutely.
But get outside, because first of all, being outside is healing in and of itself, but also it
Mhm.
increases your opportunities to have interactions with people. Real
Mhm.
quickly, met this woman on I didn't meet her, but encountered this TikTok account of this woman who lives in a part of Baltimore where she is literally cleaning up the streets. She is beautifying the streets, planting things, picking up trash. And from doing that, she's met and encountered so many awesome people in her neighborhood.
Mhm.
People love her.
Mhm.
People appreciate. People are giving to her. People are helping her. She's in a neighborhood that has never received city services, or a few city services.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so, just a mere act of planting flowers, cleaning up
Yeah.
dirt in her neighborhood has helped her to create community.
Yeah.
So, just getting outdoors, being accessible, maybe join your church. You don't go to church, then
Mhm.
join a community center. Do some volunteer work. Get involved in something that's going to, one, help you feel good about yourself, but also increase your chances
Mhm.
of connecting with other people. And then also
Yeah.
have empathy for other people, have compassion, and share that empathy and compassion with yourself as well.
That's good. That's really good. Absolutely. And one thing that comes across my mind is just being mentally available
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
those things. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because we can say
Yep.
we want all of these things to happen, and we want to have all of these experiences, and the opportunities can come, but if we're not mentally available or open, we won't even
Yep.
see them. We
That is
won't even see
so, so
them.
true. So,
So,
so true.
yeah, so we just make sure that you're mentally available, that you're open. So when these things do come, that they're for you.
Yeah.
That they for you because you're
Yes.
available, you're open into receiving that,
Yes.
right?
Amen, Shay. Amen.
Mhm.
And if you're not
Mhm.
mentally available and you're aware of that, call a counselor, seek out a
Mhm.
therapist, go to
Yeah,
therapy. You deserve
for
better.
sure. For
I
sure.
Hmm.
agree.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You have any more questions?
No, I could ask questions all day, but
I
I'm
know
good.
you
I
can.
appreciate the
Thank you.
conversation, though.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. I love having these conversations because that's
Me
what it's
too.
about. It's
Me
about pouring
too.
back into our community, having the tough conversations, being honest with each other, holding ourselves and each other accountable so we can
Yeah.
make a change. We can
Yeah.
change our community. We can heal our community. The gentleman that
Yeah.
was on earlier, what did he
Mm.
say? He said, go to your local politicians, start there. That's how you
Yeah.
can help me, is start
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we ignore those things. We always think about the high part, the
Mhm.
bigger part,
Mm-hmm.
but we got to
Mm-hmm.
start down here first,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
and if you have an ideal, that's another thing. If you have an ideal, don't sit on it. Because
Mhm.
That's
trust me, somebody is waiting for you to show up.
exactly.
Somebody's
Exactly.
waiting for you to
Exactly.
show up with it, right?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
And I think the only thing that I would add to that is don't ever underestimate the power of calling somebody out for the good that they do. Right.
Mm.
I
Absolutely.
think sometimes it's small things like
Yeah.
that. Like
Mm-hmm.
we have these social media platforms, and how great is it to wake up to somebody saying how great you are, or how
Yeah.
good you were to them, or something that you saw
Mhm.
Yeah.
that they do. Right.
Yes.
I
Mhm.
think of those things and I see it all the time. But like, oh, first person that comes to mind is Levante.
Mhm.
Right. Like you see
Yeah.
Levante, you just be like, doesn't get it doesn't get any bigger than her, right? Like
Yep.
she's just a
Yep.
beacon of light, and she's
She
not
does. She
afraid to
is.
do that.
She
Yeah.
So
is. Yep.
being able to just call that out and let
Yeah.
other women see that, you
Absolutely.
know.
Shout out
Yeah.
to Levante Dorsey.
Yeah.
Amen. She's another part. She's another one in our community, right? She's part of our
That's
community
right.
as well.
That's
A
right.
younger
Can you
sister,
see the trend?
doing her thing.
Oh, I see it. I see the trend. Yeah, yeah. I've gotten sprinkled on because of y'all. So yeah, but
Yes.
that's why I
Ah,
said it's when you all
yeah.
form,
Yeah.
we benefit from it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I like it.
yeah, yeah.
Like it.
Yeah. I'm very happy about the conversation. I hope those that are watching that you receive something from it. If you would like to follow Lisa or perhaps maybe get some therapy from Lisa, you want to hand out your information or are you booked
Thank you,
and
my
busy?
sister.
Because she booked and busy.
I'm booked and busy, but I might take on a client. So my social media handle is Lisa Savage LCSW on every platform: Twitter,
Mhm.
TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. It's Lisa Savage LCSW on all
Yeah.
social media. So hook me up, follow me, message me. I will respond to all messages. I'm a social kind of person.
Yes, she is. There's times if we're away, like we were in Mexico for the Clinicians of Color retreat, which was amazing.
It
Lisa,
was.
put your
It
phone
was.
down. Lisa, get off the street. It's time to relax. Wait a minute, I got one more thing to do. Hold on.
Funny.
That's my life, girl. You know it.
So yes, yes. But thank you so much for dropping the knowledge and
My
sharing
pleasure.
the information with us. I always appreciate you. I love you, my sister. You
I
know
love
that.
you too, my sister, and thank you
I
for the
love
opportunity.
you.
I enjoyed this immensely.
You are absolutely welcome. So thank you.
Thank
We're
y'all.
gonna have Lisa come back again, and Lisa, have a good rest of the night. Okay.
Thank you. You guys do the same.
You're
All right.
welcome.
All right. Good.
So, guys, I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. I hope you got something out of it. If you did, drop some hearts in the comments. Let me know. Also, we are going to be wrapping up season 4 soon in a couple more weeks. We're going to be moving to season 5, which I'm excited about, but we're going to get some rest.
Rest.
We're going to get some rest in between and make sure that we bring quality shows, quality interviews to you next season, just like we did in season 4. We had a lot of great interviews and great people coming on, sharing their stories, sharing their perspectives. And season 4 was about healing. It was about our healing journey, my own personal healing journey that I've been on, but also talking to others about their healing journey. So, before we go, I want to bring up Donald's information again. This is how you can go out and support him. Donald J. Thompson. His social media handles is right there. So try to support this brother. He's doing some amazing things in the community in the city of Wilmington, and he's doing this on his own.
Right.
Like he's doing this on there's
Mm-hmm.
no funding there, right? And he's doing this on his own. How can you not get behind him in some kind of way? Whatever you can do to support, do it. Do it. If it's reaching out to your local politicians, do it. Okay. Up next, guys, as we were talking, I mentioned about how women, they lose their identity, or they don't have, maybe never had their identity. And that's something that I've been noticing with just my work with women. So I decided to do something about that, to make it affordable for people that maybe I've worked with in groups, rather it's on retreats or just doing something local. Sometimes people want more and they still want to have that connection, and maybe there's insurance barriers that get in the way where, we can't continue to work, or if it's money, right? But now we have Rediscovering Her, and it's a community that's built for women, virtually, where we meet twice a month, for 90 minutes as a group to talk about reclaiming our identity, rediscovering her. I'm talking to the moms, I'm talking to the wives, I'm talking to the people that have gone through divorce, I'm talking to any woman that have not been able to have an identity, or if I ask you this question, who are you, and you stumble, you need to register for this. Okay. It is a membership only. And I put it at a very, very low price because I want it to be affordable. It's $35 a month. $35 a month. That's it. Right. And what you would get with that is 2 groups a month. You would get worksheets. You would get coping skills that you can apply to your everyday life. You will get master classes. You will get workshops, monthly masterclass, monthly workshops, guest speakers. So if you're interested, if you feel that you are this person and this is something that you could benefit from, and please don't feel embarrassed by it, because I went for years not knowing who I was. It wasn't until I turned 40 where I was able to really figure out who Shea was and what my purpose was, not who the world told me I was, not what religion said I was, not who my parents told me I was, but who I am. And I've been free, I've been free and walking in that purpose. So if this is you and you want to, just work on and learn some skills in a group, in a community of other women like-minded, go to rebirthyou.com and register. All right. So we're going to end the show tonight with some of the information for Rediscovering Her. But I first want to say thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Thank you for Donald for coming on. Thank you to Lisa. Really appreciate you, and to everybody that's been out there listening.
Absolutely. Had some good conversation tonight.
Yeah, some good. You learned some things.
Yeah. Like y'all cool.
Oh, you like us? Okay.
Yeah.
Right. We like you too.
They're coming to reclaim.
We're coming to reclaim. And actually,
claimed.
Lisa is actually going to be, she's going to be also on the Rebirth live in October. So she's going to be another person that's going to be on the Rebirth live. And this year we are talking about healing our community. And maybe I may change that name to Reclaiming Our Community. I like the way that sounds. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you again for tuning in. We appreciate you. Until next Monday, you have a blessed night.
Yes.
forgot to shout out all the graduates. I'm so sorry. I forgot to shout out all the graduates. Congratulations to everybody that has graduated, no matter what level you've graduated from. Congratulations. That was a great accomplishment. I hope that you have celebrated yourself. I hope your family have celebrated you. Couple people that comes to mind. If you have anybody that you want to shout out, couple people that comes to mind, got to give a shout out to Cameron Howe, which is our producer's daughter, and this is her last child that has graduated high school.
Shout out to her.
So shout out to you, Cam. Very proud of you. Not only did she graduate high school, but she graduated with so many scholarships.
Nice.
So congratulations to you, young lady, and I wish you nothing the best. Congratulations out to Haley Isabel, sweetheart. I'm so proud of you. Those of you don't know Haley, but you do know her father. He used to be with me on Rebirth. Eli Isabel, that is her daughter. I mean, his daughter. My apologies. So shout out to you, Haley, and congratulations. I believe you're going to be going to the University of Delaware, and Cam is going to be going to Lincoln.
Nice.
And then want to send a special congratulations to Mr. Osim. Congratulations on your graduation yesterday as well. Very proud of all of you guys. Anybody else?
My nephew, my niece Kayleen, she graduates Wednesday from
Okay.
Polytech, so that's awesome. My nephew Nas graduated in New York
Wow.
last week, or not
Okay.
yesterday. Yesterday, sorry, not last week. But congratulations to all the graduates.
Yeah,
man. All the graduates.
absolutely.
That's awesome.
All right. I just wanted to come back on and say that, y'all. Enjoy the rest of your night. God bless.